Hello and good morning. Today we're going to take a look at twists. So we're going to break down a basic yoga twist and then learn its parts and then eventually do a whole twist. And so we're going to take a look at how to twist from the base from the pelvic floor. So how to start discovering what that means. We're going to take a look at the role of this lumbar spine or the lower back in the twist and how to start discovering your lower back and the different things that we look at and that we develop the sensitivity to notice what we twist. And then hopefully we have time in our sessions. Our live sessions are usually 30 minutes, but we're going to take a look at turning the head and what that looks like. So sometimes in a twist, we turn the head and it just feels like a little bit disconnected from the twist. So how to go about turning the head properly so that you can really start getting a lot of the benefits from the twist more than just, a physical muscular pose or at that physical level. And so let's get into it and let's twist. If you have any questions about last week's practice, we did a lot of work with the hips and just let me know. You can put that on the chat right now if you have any questions, or if not, we can move on and start twists. Okay, so sit on a comfortable position. So for this first part of the class, if you'd like to sit on a chair, if that's comfortable for you, that's totally fine. You can sit on a chair and do the first part of the twisting. So I'll show you the chair part. So to start discovering this part of twisting, if you have a chair and you'd like to start off on the chair, just make sure that your chair is pretty horizontal so that your legs aren't up or anything like that. Then make sure that you can touch your feet to the ground in this nice 90-degree angle like this. You can always, add a block if the chair is too high for you. And then make sure that you're not leaning on anything. So we don't want to be leaning on the backrest of a chair here to do this practice. If you do it on the chair, this is the best, shape for your body. Okay, if you're going to be sitting on the floor, a nice pose like Virasana would be recommended. So if you can sit in Virasana, go ahead and you can use your block. Or you can sit on the floor like this. So Virasana, I would sit here like this. So we're going to start looking at twists in this pose. So sit in Virasana. And I'm going to change the height here. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to start out here by closing your eyes. And close your eyes. Take a few breaths here. And for this, more than any pose, start releasing the eyes, the ears, and the throat. And receiving the energy, the prana, the nourishment of your breath. All right. So when we start to twist, in a seated twist like this, we're going to turn to the right. So sitting in Virasana, make the legs very heavy, lift the chest, and I want you to just twist. So inhale, lift the chest, exhale, twist, and twist to the side. And then notice what happens. Then inhale, lift the chest, exhale, and come to the center. So we'll do that again to the second side. Inhale, Lift the chest, exhale, twist. And notice what's happening with the lower back. So with this lumbar spine, this area right here. So as you're turning, are you turning from the lower back or are you turning from the pelvic floor? So let's look at the lower back. Okay, so here I'm going to lift my chest. So we call this, we can call it the arch or lordosis or the lumbar spine. Now, how much do you arch your back? Or sometimes you have a flatter, resting position. So some bodies arch more, some bodies don't arch more. The natural curve of the spine, there is a little bit of a curve there in this lumbar region of the spine. So try to get to the place where your spine feels that it's at its, resting place. And try to understand, do I have a lot of lordosis here or do I tend to flatten the lower back? And then when you discover what is your normal curve is where your breath is the freest. So where you can breathe. If I am flattening my lower back, I'm going to feel it in my breath. I'm not going to be able to take as free of a breath as I would. And if I have a very pronounced arch here, I have to bring it back to a place where it's its natural curve, and then you can have a freer breath. So that's how you start noticing. Are your ears puffing out? What's going on? Okay, so take a few breaths. And the first part of twists it's very important to sort of start understanding is this lift of the chest. And this goes for so many different poses that we twist in. We even, Trikonasana standing poses, we're twisting, a whole range of poses that you can, use these basic sort of tenets when you're doing those poses as well. So if I'm here, I'm going to lift my chest. Am I lifting my chest from the lower back or from the arch here of the lower back, or am I lifting my chest from the pelvic floor? Okay, so if I am arching the back to lift, then I have to reconsider that and start teaching myself to tuck a little so that I don't increase the arch here, and to lift from the pelvic floor. So if you put your hands on your sit bones, so there's two sit bones, very bottom of this hip region there. So place the sit bones onto your block, onto your chair or the floor. So sit bones on the block, feel the sit bones. And I'm not telling you the sit bones are your pelvic floor, but they are outside of the pelvic floor. But ground the sit bones and start noticing or feeling or being receptive to the height of the chest coming from the pelvic floor, which is nearest the sit bones and not somewhere around here on your lumbar spine. So lift the chest and see if when you lift the chest, you engage the lower back. And so you can spend a lot of time just there. Oh, hi. A lot of time just there, releasing all kinds of. Okay, so you can start there. And yes, we're not getting to the twist yet, but you're starting there, discovering this place where you can release your belly, release any tension in the stomach, any tension in the eyes, ears, and throat, and start the detoxifying quality of the twist from that lift of the chest. So we're not just detoxifying because we're squeezing everything, but it's the whole process. So sit bones on the block. Soften the eyes, the ears, and the throat. Soften the belly. And then lift the chest from the pelvic floor. And I'm going to inhale without losing this lift that I've created. Exhale and twist to the right. So if you are able to feel the lift from the pelvic floor, you're going to feel the lumbar area here too, right? Sometimes there's a tension that forms on some of the sides, or you're gripping the lumbar. That's fine. So lift, exhale, twist a little more, and start discovering where is your twist coming from. And when you twist, do you arch the back a little more? And usually that's what happens. So we twist and we arch a little more to twist. So we want to look into that and see how we can twist from the pelvic floor, lift from the pelvic floor, twist from the pelvic floor, and not from the middle of this arch lumbar spine here. So we're going to do that one more time. And you just noticing here, you don't have to be doing it correctly here. So notice if that's a tendency for you to arch a little bit more as you twist, and then we can start correcting it. Okay. So sit bones onto your block, lift the chest, and then release any tension in the eyes, the ears, the throat. Keep the lift of the chest, not from the lumbar, but from the pelvic floor, which means if you tuck a little bit, it helps, especially if you have that tendency of arching the back, which this body definitely does. So if you tuck a little bit, which means rotate the pelvis this way, so pubic symphysis comes up, these hip bones go back, right? So this is tucking. So the tuck of the pelvis is independent from that curve of the lower back. It's all connected, but I'm saying you have to tuck without disturbing that natural curve of the lower back, so that I'm not, flattening my lumbar curve to do any poses in yoga. You want to maintain that normal curve. And until you can do this double movement here, just notice what happens in your butt. Okay, so one more time. Sit bones onto your block, lift the chest. Inhale, maintain the lift. As you exhale, tuck a little bit and start twisting. So lift and twist, exhaling, and noticing it if you're losing the height of the chest. If you are, just twist less, maintain the height. And then if you stop here and you just take another breath, maintain the height. So either lift more, maintain the height that you've created as you exhale with that softness in the eye, ears, and throat. Then twist a little more. And notice, am I arching my lower back to twist here? If you are, stop, tuck a little bit, and then twist a little more. So then the twist becomes not forced. It becomes almost, wonderful. And with practice, you can release more and more and more, and then twist in a much more, healthy way. Okay, so this was looking at the lower back. So what we're going to look at now is this tendency to arch the lower back while we're twisting. So what we're going to do here is we're going to sit in our twist. And if I'm twisting to the right, I'm going to pay extra attention to my left side, my left hip. So I am twisting to the right. And what tends to happen is the left side will untuck, which means arch. that side will arch more to help the twist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remember where my sit bone is under the left side here. I'm going to anchor that left sit bone onto my block, my chair, or my floor. And I'm going to twist to the right, making sure that the left side is anchored and it's tucked. Tucked meaning the pelvis is rotating with the pubic symphysis coming forward, this hip bone coming back, right? So this kind of a tuck. Okay, so tuck the left side and inhale, lift the chest from the pelvic floor, release the eyes, ears, throat. Exhale, start twisting and tucking this left side. So I'm going to put the camera closer to see, so maybe that you can see what I'm doing with the pelvis. So if there's a lot of tightness around the hips, it's harder to be able to tuck and untuck, but with time, you can start doing it. Okay, so let's see if this makes it easier to see what's going on. So, okay. So if I don't watch it, right? So if I inhale, so this is my left side and I'm twisting to the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I tuck this side a little bit so I don't exaggerate this curve in order to twist. Okay, so lift from the pelvic floor. So press the sit bones down, and we can look at the pelvic floor in a different video, but lift the chest from the pelvic floor. Then inhale, soften the eyes, the ears, the throat. As you exhale, start coming out. So if I don't watch it, when I am twisting, usually there's a little back bend, especially on the opposite side. Okay, and then come back to center. So what I want to do here is I want to really ground. You can think of grounding the middle of the femur here, but it's down here. It's the head of the femur. Ground the head of the femur, which means you're feeling those sit bones coming down onto the floor. You can engage the pelvic floor if you know how to do that, which means not the glutes, but the pelvic floor. So you're grounding the femur. You lift the chest from the pelvic floor. Inhale. Keep that lift of the chest, softness in the eyes, ears, the throat. And I'm going to tuck a little bit here. It's okay. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to tuck just a little bit, especially anchoring this left side into my floor here. So anchor the left sit bone as I lift and I start tucking, and the twist that, was just twisting from here. Now I can come and start twisting from the pelvic floor instead of twisting from somewhere up here, starting here, right? If I'm arching, the twist is going to come from here. So I want to bring that twist down to start down. So anchor the sit bone, tuck this side a little bit, and then that will help the twist. Okay, so I hope that you were able to see that and that you can start working on your twists in Virasana and start playing with anchoring the opposite sit bone and then twisting like that. It's a wonderful twisting journey. So I hope you really enjoy it and that you take some time and practice. Maybe in the beginning, you can do a few repetitions, 2-3 minutes on each side. And then eventually you can twist for longer. And just, so if I were doing it to, my second side, so twisting to the left here, I would lift the chest and anchor the sit bones, lift the chest from the pelvic floor, and release everything. Release the ears puffing out, release that knot in the throat, release the tension in the eyes, especially in the belly. So if you need to take a few breaths here with very soft eyes to start bringing that energy, that prana from your breath into your stomach, release any tension here, any tension around the spine. Lift. And then maintain the lift, the physical lift or the energetic lift that you've created. And as you exhale, you start twisting and you notice, the twist is coming from that lumbar spine. I'm arching. Okay. So if that's happening in your body, start noticing that. So then you come back, you do the same steps again, you lift, you anchor, because you're twisting to the left now. So anchor the right sit bone, tuck a little bit here, and start twisting from the pelvic floor, not from the middle of the lumbar spine. Okay, so that is discovering that area in the lumbar. So I'm going to show you one quick way to start working and strengthening this area back here. So we're going to do a very simple one today. Just going to lay down on your back, You can lay down on the mat or on your any surface. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna have my feet as close as I can, close the shin with the thigh here, and put your feet on the ground. And then just allow the back to just rest on the floor and the hips, and take a few breaths here, just feeling the back being supported by the floor. And then I'm going to lift my heels up from the ground. So lift the heels, and then as you bring them back, see what happens to the lower back here. Okay, so does it try to tuck? And when I'm bringing my heels down to the floor, I want to do it just by using the leg, not by arching the back to bring the heels down. So notice what happens to your back. Do you arch the back to bring the feet down, or are you able to keep the hips stable while the legs just come down? So this is a motion of the legs. So the legs are coming down, and I'm not flattening my back. I'm keeping that normal curve, but I'm keeping my hips on kind of a neutral position, and I'm bringing the legs up and down, just the heels, and see what impact that has on your hips. Is it causing you to move your hips like this, to move the legs up and down? So what you want is stable hips, and you want this to be a motion just of the legs. So then when you do start bringing your full legs up, right? So we're not we're keeping them at this vertical kind of 90-degree angle. So don't bring the knees too far down. And now I'm going to bring my toes up and bring my heels down. And can I maintain the stability of my hips here, not use the hips to bring the legs down? So when I'm starting, I just keep looking here at the hips, right? If I were to do it incorrectly, I would arch the back to bring the legs down. So what I want to do is I want to isolate the legs and allow the legs to do the work, so that I don't have to to use the hips. So the hips and the legs can work independently here. So pelvis is on the ground here, stable. Legs come down. Can you keep tucking, which means pushing these hip bones into the ground, pubic symphysis up towards the ceiling. So tucking and bringing the legs down. So that is the beginning of working on the pelvic floor. And this will help in every pose, that's strengthening of this area. Okay. So let's take a look at the head. I have a wonderful video that explained this in greater detail. I can link it in the description below, so if you want to take a look. It really shows how to turn the head and the whole mechanics of that. But we'll go over it quickly now, and then we'll do a final pose with a twist and put it all together. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to sit in my chair or on my support. And I'm going to bring my right hand out first, and I want to make sure that my hand is not above my shoulder, so keep the hand down like this, and make sure that the arm isn't touching the side of the body, so I have a little bit of space here. Okay, so rotate my shoulder out, which means I'm bringing my elbow forward, my shoulder, and I'm really trying to rotate the hand back like this, okay? So just keep it rotated, a maximum amount here, and I'm going to turn my head to look over to my hand. Okay, so if I just turn my head normally, okay, I can just turn my head. So that has kind of a jamming effect here. It has a jamming effect on this side. It doesn't feel free and good. The head is a little bit not in a very free position where I can breathe freely. It's a little bit of a tension. Okay, so what I do to turn my head towards my hand is I rotate this. When I rotate my arms out like this, I open the chest more. I give myself a little bit more space. So sometimes we're a little bit like this and we're twisting like this with the head. So here we are opening the chest a little bit, keeping the arm rotated out. And we're watching the elbow here. I'm going to tilt my head to the opposite side. So tilt the head to the left. And then from here, I'm going to rotate and look at my hand. This left ear is a little bit lifted, so lifted a little higher than my right ear. And then I soften the eyes, ears, and throat, and I can really turn the head without any tension, and I can start feeling a connection from my ear to my elbow. And then inhale, exhale, come out, and we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to turn the other way. So keep still the right hand out here, rotate the hand out, and I'm going to turn my head to the left. So here I'm going to tilt my head, so there's no rotation, just a tilt to the right. Inhale, exhale, turn the head to the left. And then feel the connection between the head and the elbow. So when we start turning the head, we turn the head as if we're picturing the head just being attached to the neck here and turning from here, right? So we have our turning point here. What I want you to imagine is at the base of the skull. So the base of your skull here starts as you're at your 7th cervical. So pretend the base of the skull is here at your 7th cervical, here, the one that pokes out. And pretend that you're rotating the neck from the mid-thoracic back. Okay, so the rotation actually comes from the mid-back right here. Okay, so the head starts here, rotation here. Instead of head coming here, rotation coming from this neck area. I want you to picture that. I don't, it's kind of an imaginary aid to really get the neck turning in a free way, okay? So we're going to do it again, the second side. So I have my arms out here, rotate the arm out. I'm going to inhale, soften the eyes, the ears, and the throat, lift the chest. And I'm going to tilt my head to the right. And I'm going to lift my chest. Think of that point right in your thoracic spine, in the back of the body here, right in the middle here, and twist to the left from there. Lift the head, lift the chest. Inhale, exhale, bring the head back. So if this is giving you relief in your head, so now you can turn the head freely, imagine doing that in your twists as well. So always use the lean and then rotate technique. It works really nicely. So I'll show you this pose, a twist and a standing pose so that you can see all of these components being put together. And then you can just practice also on your seated twist. And let me know if your twisting practice improves, if you're able to do even maybe just the first few steps and get any kind of, relief from tension and stress, or improve your twist. So let me know how that went for you. But let's take a look at Trikonasana now. Okay, so if I am getting on this pose here, I'm going to be twisting up to the left. So here's what happens. So number one, my right side, so I'm twisting to the left. My right side here, let's see if you can see, yes. My right side here will tend to untuck. So you can probably see that I have this arch here on the opposite side. So here, what I want to do is I want to bend my back knee. I want to locate my sit bone and send that sit bone over to the back foot and then straight. So send that, drop that sit bone towards my back foot, which means I will untuck as much as I can. I mean, tuck as much as I can here. Straighten my back leg without bringing this backward. So here I straighten the back leg, untuck. I anchor the sit bone to the back foot so that it remains tucked. Then I lift the chest from the pelvic floor and I turn my head up and I twist. All right. And that ability to twist is going to come from my ability to ground this back thigh to the back. Okay. Okay, so I hope I was able to illustrate that for you so that you can see the twist in a different pose, in a standing pose. And yeah, I hope you're able to see the tucking of the opposite side. So if you're twisting to the right, anchor the opposite sit bone and tuck. Make sure that the tuck is independent of maintaining that natural lumbar curve. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. We can work on this together and help clarify, understand, and do twists in a much better way, I guess, a nicer way. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the class and see you next week. Thank you for watching.